On Amazon Japan, I was able to buy this KS003GZ Makita 125mm circular saw that is blade left. All right, so it's XGT, so this is 40 volts, brushless motor. APT, that one confused me. That's the Advanced Protection Technology. I guess that's just a different way of referring to the IP56. AWS just means it's ready for the Bluetooth module that automatically turns on the vacuum cleaner. It does some of this, some of this. Reverse-handed design, that's what they're calling blade left. The wireless link function, or the AWS Bluetooth module, is sold separately. Automatic shifting function, that only happens in the high-speed mode. There is a switch that you can use to change the speed mode from 5,000 RPMs to 7,500 RPMs. So they're saying it's good for cutting siding and gypsum, and they're calling out how good the balance on this saw is. Before we open this up and take a look at it, I just want to briefly explain. I bought this saw after I watched Tools and Stuff, and he explained how awesome this saw is. This one is the KS005G. I love this saw. It's so light and so handy and so fast, except for one irritating problem, and that's that a speed square can't fit underneath this motor. The clearance isn't enough. Tools and Stuff ended up modifying his speed squares so that they would slide underneath of this, and I ended up doing the same thing. So the KS003GZ, because it's blade left, all my speed squares are going to work just fine, and the dust collection on this is supposed to be really good. So let's open this up and take a look at it. Before I open this box, I have to mention one more thing. This tool comes in two flavors, the KS004 and the KS003. The difference is the dust collection shield. Now, the reason that I needed to point that out before I open this box is because in this box, you're going to see both of the shields. And the reason you're seeing both of the shields is because this was repackaged and sold on Amazon Japan by Tool Lab. So Tool Labs opened the box, they put the other shield in here, and then kind of sold it as a kit with both shields. This is the part number for the KS004G style of dust collection shield. And I'll show more of that later. All right, and here's the saw. And there is no blade in the box. It's a good thing that I have this blade. All right, let's take a look at this light, compact, fast saw. This is the KS003. You can see right here, this one is made in Japan. You'll notice that it is not UL listed. It's not for sale in the United States. And because I imported this from Japan, I get no warranty on this whatsoever from Makita USA. If I needed to pursue anything warranty related, I would have to do so in Japan. This is where the AWS Bluetooth module goes. We can see that it comes empty. Once the Bluetooth module is in there, when this is powered on, it will turn on a Makita vacuum, which I don't have. This is the speed selector switch. This is low speed and this is high speed. The reason that I know that isn't because I know how to read Japanese. I do not. It's because this extra row of printing here is explaining that in the high speed mode, it will automatically regulate the speed of the blade depending on the load. And they explain that here as speed mode 1, 7,500 RPMs. The speed changes automatically according to the material. High speed rotation when light load, high torque and speedy when heavy load. Okay, so that's their own words. The low speed selection, or the quiet eco mode, is a rotation speed of 5,000 RPMs. keeps a constant speed, reduces cutting noise. So that is the low speed mode in their own words. So they hinge this. There's a cap on it. I just want to put this cap in here and I want to see how the stuff builds up in here. This is just designed to be a catchment, and then you open this up and dump it out later in case you're in a situation where you don't have a vacuum cleaner. So now I can just open this up and I can dump this out, or I can hook a vacuum cleaner up and clean it out. All right, I figured out what this clip on the top is for. That is for storing the cap so that you don't lose the dust cap for the end of this. Okay. All right, so that's how the KS004 compares to the KS003. 5mm hex on there. $20mm arbor, that's the thickness of the blade. This is the number of teeth, and this is the overall diameter, 125. This is where the guide rail fits on there like that. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. So both of these mounting screws can be loosened up, and then this front assembly can be moved side to side to make this edge perfectly parallel with the blade. Plenty of high precision adjustments on here. That's nice. Another pretty big difference between the HS005G and the KS003 is the way that the batteries are put in this. On the KS03 and 04, they've given a lot more clearance. Okay, that's a 2.5 on there. Now they talk about how balanced it is, and it is balanced, but you know, so is my Milwaukee 6.5 inch. So I don't know if that's really the main thing with these saws. What happens if we put a larger battery in here? Okay, this is the 4 amp hour. That fits in there. Starting to get a little heavy on the back. And the 5 amp hour, okay, so does, okay, the 5 amp hour won't fit in here. So the 8 amp hour, even though the 8 amp hour could physically fit here, even though they left the clearances for the bigger batteries, they don't want the bigger batteries on there. The 5 amp hour does fit on this one? No way. And then you lose a little bit of depth, but the 5 amp hour fits on this one. They made it so bigger batteries could fit, but they don't fit. No, that is absolutely made not to fit. You really don't want those big batteries on here anyway because it messes up the balance. So we're going to leave the 4 amp hour in that one. So one of the main things with the saw is dust collection. So the KS03 has a much bigger vacuum port than the KS04. 32 millimeters on the inside, 37 millimeters on the outside, 30 millimeters outside diameter, and I think it's 25 on the inside diameter. Much smaller. This is a real common adapter on Amazon. You can get these cheap. This one's not going to work here, but that one will work there. That fits in there, doesn't fit here. This is the Rockler adapter. That doesn't fit on this. It does fit on this, so the Rockler adapter works there. This smaller Rockler adapter, I think I can get this on here. Yeah. So that's going to be how I'm going to test that one. It's the only thing I have that fits this. All right, so here's the Gen 2 Milwaukee vacuum. That one fits in there. Doesn't fit on the other one. So then here's the Festool hose. That doesn't fit there. Doesn't fit there. This adapter doesn't fit that. I found this adapter that fits this and that. And that's the only way I could get the Festool to work on there. And I wish I knew where I got this. I'm sure I got it on Amazon. So I don't really have any way to connect the Festool to this. So we'll use the Festool on here and we'll have to use different vacuum on that. Okay, it helps to put the blade in the correct direction. So I put the blade in wrong because I was shooting video and not paying attention. All right, so there's a little button right here that pushes out that. The blade lock is up here. So we'll do the blade lock. Blade lock. Reverse threaded. So now we'll put the blade in the correct direction. So the tool goes back here. And it sticks out here so you can push it out. Okay. All right, now we're ready. So this is the Festool CT MIDI. So we are on the high speed setting that changes the speed. Let's see if we can hear anything. Okay, that was the first cut that I made with this saw. This thing is just so awesome. I thought I could hear it modulating the speed. We'll do a cut without the noise of the dust collection in high speed. So let's see if we can hear any difference in the RPMs. Gosh, this thing is so awesome. I don't know if I could really hear that or not. This is oak hardwood. It just cuts through this like nothing. We're gonna do low speed where it maintains that speed. On the low speed, the cut didn't feel as effortless as it did on the high speed. The high speed mode, it just felt effortless. I think I can already tell before I've even tried the other one that I prefer this dust collection shroud, the KS003. Dust collection goes way down where It needs to get good collection. And it works. It really works well. I love this saw. So it's at the maximum depth. All right, so this is the Milwaukee. Low speed. It definitely cuts more effortlessly in the high-speed mode. I prefer the high-speed mode. The HS005 is just as wonderful, except the dust collection isn't as good, and you can't get this over top of that. So if you're using it free-handed like this, it bumps and lifts. Okay, so you gotta cut that out. You can see all the dust that's made. Okay, you can see how much dust is created. I have the Makita vacuum that's based on the old Nilfisk. I don't think they even make this one anymore in the Makita brand. So my point is, this is not the Festool vacuum. Those look like very good 45s to me. Let's look at some of these cutoffs and take some measurements. All right, so the maximum depth of cut that I'm seeing is right around 42 millimeters. Let's just measure both sides, yeah. That is the quality of the cut at 45. It's very good. And of course, a lot of the credit goes to the blade that's in it too. So that's 1 inch, 45'd. So it'll actually 45, 28, almost 29 millimeters. You might be able to get it to cleanly cut off a 45 on 29 millimeter thick material. That's definitely the max. And there's just tiny amount of splintering here. It's not as good as a track saw, but it's doing pretty darn good. That is so smooth. A lot of the credit goes to the blade. So smooth. So here's a little bit of tear out. I was probably going really fast. You know, this particular piece, I don't know how hard I was pushing it, but you can get some really smooth cuts on that thing. This is soft plywood. That edge looks a little rough. This edge looks really good. If I remember right, I was pushing it pretty hard through this because I wanted to see how fast it would go without bogging down. This saw cuts fast. So there's an optional rafter hook that bolts on there. If you're going to be cutting something that's going to scratch up this beautifully polished base plate, they do make a black plastic base plate that clips on this to protect it. You're going to lose some depth of cut, but that is an available accessory as well. AWS Bluetooth module goes in here, and of course this only works with Makita AWS capable vacuum cleaners, which I don't have. My vacuum cleaner is the old Nilfisk style of Makita vacuum cleaner. It doesn't have any Bluetooth capabilities. I found the dust collection to be just as good on either one. It's just that the shroud on the KS004 is significantly more bulky. You know, and it's bulky because it's made to catch the material in here, hold it in here until you need to empty it out. You don't get both shrouds in the box with this saw. From Makita, you're buying the KS003, which is this one, or you're buying the KS004. But like I said, you can buy this shroud by itself if you choose to buy the KS003. I just happened to find a third-party seller on Amazon that would ship to the United States called Tool Lab that included both of the shrouds, which is not typical packaging. You don't get both of these shrouds when you order a KS003. Don't know if there was supposed to be a blade in the box or not. I'm assuming that there's no blade in the box. So don't forget to buy a blade. Like I said, this one is made in Japan. My HS005 is made in China. Okay, in editing, I realized that I forgot to point out the main difference between the HS005 and the KS003 and 4, and that's this part of the fence. This part of the fence on the HS005 is removable, and then it has way more adjustments on the angles. It can actually undercut this way right up against a flat wall or a corner, and that is kind of its main feature, and I forgot to really point that out. If you want to know more about this HS005, you really got to watch the review that Tools and Stuff did on this saw. There's a lot of stuff to explain about all the adjustments that are going on here. The KS003 and 004 do not have any kind of a back cut, and they don't go over 45, and it doesn't undercut at all. So the KS003 and 4 are just a simple 0 to 45. That's it. There's nothing on this fence that is removable. And I did also mention the Milwaukee 6.5 inch. The blade size is only 1.5 inches bigger, but you can see how much bigger and bulkier. And the 6.5 inch is on the smaller side. These saws are really small and light and handy, even compared to a 6.5 inch. I don't have any inside information about whether or not they're going to bring this to the United States or not. You know how YouTube works. Stay tuned, and thank you for watching.